This is by design. In weaponized fashion, the FBI allowed me to accept orders to a new position halfway across the country. They allowed us to sell my family's home. They ordered me to report to the new unit when our youngest daughter was 2 weeks old. Then, on my first day on the new assignment, they suspended me, rendering my family homeless.
It appears that I was retaliated against because I forwarded information to my superiors and others that questioned the official narrative of the events of January 6th. As a result, I was accused of promoting conspiratorial views and unreliable information. Because I did this, the FBI questioned my allegiance to the United States.
Mr. Friend, you ever been to a school board meeting?
Yes, I have.
FBI ever sent you to the parking lot of a school board meeting?
Yes, they have.
And in the parking lot of a school board meeting where the FBI sent you, you were taking down information regarding people's license plates.
That's correct.
But the FBI will crush you. This government will crush you and your family if you try to expose the truth about things that they are doing that are wrong. And we are all examples of that.
The heroes at the FBI with the guts to give it all up and say something. Joining me now, one of those heroes, Garret O'Boyle, a whistleblower, FBI, I guess formerly FBI, I don't know how that daggone works. But Garret, before we get to what you're doing now and why you're doing it, who are you and where do you come from? What's your background?
Thanks for having me on, Jesse. I appreciate being here. So my background, I come from a humble blue-collar family in Wisconsin, from Milwaukee. It's where I was born and raised, and 9/11 really put me on the path that I'm currently on, although I never would have imagined it would lead here. But I was a freshman in high school when the attacks on the Twin Towers happened, and after graduating high school, I enlisted in the Army as an infantryman, and I did that for about 6 years with year-long deployments to both Iraq and Afghanistan. As I said in my opening statement on Thursday at the hearing, one of the awards I received I'm most proud of is the Combat Infantryman's Badge, which is awarded to only those infantrymen who face our nation's enemies in ground combat. And after I got out of the Army with an honorable discharge, I went back to school and shortly thereafter became a police officer in Waukesha, Wisconsin, and I did that for about 4 years. And in that time, I finished up my bachelor's degree, and at that point, I thought, hey, you know what? I'm going to apply to the FBI because if I don't, I'll never know if I could make it to what I once believed was the preeminent law enforcement agency in the world. And I did make it. And after a couple years of being an agent, I tried out for the SWAT team, and I made that too and was selected for that. And then fast forward a little bit more, I tried out for a new specialty unit that was being established in the Quantico, Virginia area. And I made that unit as well. You know, I know I'm being smeared as a malcontent and a disgruntled employee, but that couldn't be further from the truth. The FBI, my time there, aside from the protected disclosures I made, overall, my day-to-day work and being on the SWAT team, things like that, it was the best job I ever had. And I truly believed that the whistleblower protection laws that are in place would apply to me. And I thought, I'm doing the right thing the right way. You know, Chris Wray likes to say that all the time, that the FBI does the right thing in the right way, but I did that. I made protected disclosures to Congress, and I'm being punished for it now.
Now, how does somebody who's Captain America go from that to being someone the FBI is against? That doesn't make any sense. How exactly did that come about?
It doesn't make any sense. You know, it's Thanos snapping his fingers, and that's exactly what the FBI has done. And they don't want people like me. They don't want people like Steve Friend or Marcus Allen or others shining a light in the darkness. They just want you to protect the brand. They want you to toe the line. And if you see something that is unconstitutional, you see something that is illegal, they expect you to just shut up. And that's something that, in my opinion, everybody who's ever swore an oath to the Constitution, that you simply can't do that. You have to shine a light on that darkness.
Did you see something illegal?
You know, the whistleblower protections, they say if you have a reasonable belief that there's a violation of law, rule, or regulation, and abuse of authority, gross mismanagement, and a couple other areas that you can make protected disclosures to Congress. So I made numerous disclosures to Congress. Some of the ones I'm comfortable talking about because they're already in the public sphere include statistic padding. So when my initial closed door deposition excerpts were leaked to the media, one of the things that came out then, and it's now in the congressional report that came out leading into the hearing, was information I provided about how the FBI does pad those domestic terrorism statistics. I was assigned to domestic terrorism. That's what I worked. And in my example, I had one case. It was on what the FBI had deemed a militia. And throughout working that case, I ended up opening a total of 4 cases, which all along the way, that didn't really make sense to me because in actuality, it was just one case. But FBI policy says, if you're working in the counterterrorism division, that every time you have a new subject, you have to open a new case. And I thought, this doesn't make sense because if I was working a gang, like, the Crips or the Bloods or something like that, I would open a case just on the gang. Or if I opened it on one gang member and the investigation led in a way where you discovered new subjects, you would just add them in a separate sub-file to that initial case. But the FBI, the majority of their funding that they get from Congress is in relation to the counterterrorism activities that they claim to investigate. And of course, they do investigate some that are legitimate. But when you can point to one agent in Wichita, Kansas and say, look, this guy has 4 separate cases, when in actuality they're one, I think that's a reasonable belief that the FBI is manipulating those statistics to show to Congress and to the American people that there's some sort of massive extremism going on in the country, when in actuality, that's not the whole story.
Now, besides funding from Congress, what motivation would the FBI have to pad stats like that?
So there's a system in the FBI called integrated program management. And as part of that system, the highest ranking employee in any given field office, typically it's the special agent in charge, although in some of the larger field offices, it would be an assistant director. But anyways, at the beginning of every fiscal year, there's basically a yearly projection on what the field office is going to quote unquote accomplish. And part of that accomplishment is essentially a checkmark system where you can get red, green, or gold, and gold being the highest. Now, if the field office gets gold in every single category of that system, then the special agent in charge gets a monetary bonus at the end of the year. Now, in all my experience in law enforcement and in college with constitutional law courses and criminal law courses, this was something that was very draconian to me as soon as I learned about it. And I thought, law enforcement isn't a Fortune 500 company. It literally is finding the facts and getting as close to the facts as you can. But when you have this system in place, it trickles from the top all the way down to the bottom, and pressure is then exerted for those check marks to be marked gold so the SAC gets his bonus at the end of the year.
Hey. Garret, we'll talk soon, man. I applaud you. Appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
I have great news. If you enjoyed that, I have a YouTube channel you can subscribe to. Whatever I do, it'll be right there on YouTube, so go subscribe today.